How's it going, everyone? This is Walter and I am the Film Hermit. And today I'm going to be talking about something very, very special to me. But first off, this is actually the first anime that I've done a video before. So this is the anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion, and this is the DVD box set. And would you believe that this box set is going on Amazon for $1,500? Now, this is a DVD box set, not a Blu-ray box set. So the main reason I'm doing this video today is that finally the Blu-rays are going to be coming to the United States. There has never been a Blu-ray release of the show, and this was one of the last DVDs to come out for the show, and I think this came out either in the early 2000s or in the late 90s. But the show originally premiered in the 1990s. But Amazon is selling this DVD box set brand new for $1,500, and a used copy is about $375. So I'll go a little deeper in that later, why it's so much and so forth. But I want to talk about the show and why it's so special to anime fans. So this show premiered in like the mid to late 90s, and it was produced by a Japanese animator named Hideaki Anno. Hopefully I got that name right. And this show is in what they call the mecha genre. So it has to do with giant robots, even though technically they're not robots. And but a lot of the Japanese anime has to do with large robots fighting monsters, and that's kind of what this is about. But this show goes so much deeper than that. So I've done a lot of research on this show about it and how it was created. And the creator Anno, he talks about how this show was an exploration of depression. So let me go ahead and open this up so I can talk about some of the characters with a visual here. So one thing about this box set, which I'm going to go over, there are pictures of each of the characters on each of the DVD volumes, I should say, because there's about 7 discs in this set, 6 discs in this set. So basically it includes all 26 episodes of the show. They also did some director's cuts of like some of the final 4 episodes. And I think that's why I have this particular set, because they were released on DVD before this, but then they came out with the director's cut episodes and everything was slightly remastered. So I bought this set, and I think I got rid of my set like a long time ago. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but I know it wasn't $1,500. So this is the character of Shinji. The show is about a 14-year-old boy who has a mother that has passed away when he was young and a father that doesn't speak to him. And he is called, and this takes place, I believe, in the year 2005. So this is the future for 90s anime. So he's called back to Japan, to Tokyo, and his father runs a organization called Nerve. And this organization is doing top secret research into these gigantic beings called Evangelions. And now a lot of people know about this research, and basically he is called there because he is told that he needs to pilot one of these machines. And in the midst of all this, there is a gigantic monster called an angel attacking the city. So you have a situation where a 14-year-old is facing a father that he doesn't know and being told that he is to get into essentially a gigantic robot and go to war. And that's how the story starts out. And as the story goes on, you see Shinji being a 14-year-old child, not understanding the world that he lives in, and mostly being not used to being around people because he doesn't have parents in his life and he doesn't have a lot of friends. And how he basically starts to try his best to grow up and try to learn what it's like to have family, what it's like to have friends, what it's like to have people that in your life that depend on you. And a lot of times he doesn't always do the right thing, doesn't always say the right thing, and he gets people upset, and he doesn't understand, and he doesn't know what to do with it. And also the added burden of having to save the world. So a lot of people don't know this anime, but like I've been talking to a lot of people that watch anime, and a lot of younger people especially have never heard of it, haven't seen it. This show goes so much deeper than just the whole gigantic robot monster aspect. It has to do a lot about religion, the fact that the monsters are called angels, the fact that there's a lot of religious terminology used throughout the show. Essentially what it's about is the end of the world and how humanity is trying to stop the world from ending and maybe possibly trying to become gods themselves. It goes a lot into what it means to be a human being, about the challenges that we all face, how difficult it is to relate to other human beings, how the fact that human beings all have the same needs, wants, and goals, and how a lot of us have so much difficulty relating to one another. And that's essentially what the show's about. I don't know how many times I've seen it. This is like my show that like if if I need just to kind of relax and unwind in the house, I'll put it on. And I've probably seen it many, many, many times. I'm big when it comes to anime. I tend to want to watch the English version. And when I first started watching this, I watched the English version, at least kind of, because back in the 90s when I was discovering anime, they were on VHS tapes. And what they would have is they would have English VHS and they would have Japanese English VHS. And they were very, very expensive. So a lot of times, sometimes I'd watch a show in Japanese just because I couldn't get the English tape, or it was too expensive to buy, or the place that rented it only had it. And I originally found them in, I lived in San Francisco in the early 90s. And I lived only a few blocks away from Japantown. And there was this really cool anime store, and I remember the volume 1 actually had Shinji on the cover. And that wasn't the first time I had seen imagery for this show. I remember there was a booklet that I used to purchase. I didn't purchase, it was a free booklet. And it was about Laserdiscs and showed all the new Laserdiscs coming out. I remember there was a image of Evangelion, and it had Shinji and some of the other characters, and I was like, oh, the animation, that looks really good, I'd like to check it out. But then I remember some of the first time I actually saw it was in that Japantown store. I ended up getting some of the Laserdiscs, but they didn't in the US finish all of them. Like, I think they only did volume 1 and volume 2, and they were really, really expensive. But the added nice thing about the lasers back then was the Laserdisc had the English soundtrack on there, and it also had the Japanese soundtrack, and then the subtitles were encoded on the closed caption. So that was a show that it was very difficult for me to finally get all the volumes and watch all of them, but eventually I did, and I think I'd rented them on VHS, and then finally when DVD came out, I got them on DVD, and it was just like, I watched it all the time. Now back to the whole English soundtrack thing. I prefer English soundtracks when it comes to anime because I love subtitles are great when it comes to live action, because when live action, I want to hear the real actor that I'm seeing on screen. I want to hear their voice and what they're communicating. But in my defense, when it comes to anime, since animation is drawing and it's all dubbed anyway, if it's a language that you don't speak, that you're not really getting anything from the visual. If anything, I'm not looking at the great animation on screen, I'm reading the subtitles. But every time I talk to someone that is into anime, they always go, you gotta watch a subtitle, you gotta watch a subtitle. So this is this is the second attempt I've done to try to watch the subtitle version. And I find with this particular show, since I've seen it so many times and I know it so well, most of the time I don't need to read the subtitles. Like, I do read it sometimes, but I'm listening to the Japanese, and I love the show so much, even though I don't understand Japanese, it's fine. One thing I do like about the Japanese version of the show is that it looks like they have had the same voice cast members this entire time. When I've gone through IMDb and researched it, I've seen that it's the same cast throughout the whole show, because it was like 26 episodes of show, and then they did 2 movies, and then Ano, I've read that basically he was not entirely happy with some of the reception the show got. Now, people loved it, and it was a huge hit, and was very, very successful, but he felt that a lot of people in particular didn't quite understand what he was trying to say, and loved it all for the wrong reasons. For example, one of the main characters of the show is Rei Anami. She's another 14-year-old child that is a pilot of one of the Evangelion units. And apparently I read that he wasn't very happy that people love this character so much, because I don't want to go into spoilers about this particular character, but this character basically is not entirely real. I should say that. I can say that much without revealing too much if you haven't seen it. So he didn't understand why people love that character so much. So I guess apparently when he made the new set of films, he made 4 films. They started out in 2007, and they just released the 4th film a few weeks ago on Amazon Prime. So there's 4 films in the re-release, the rebuild they call it. And that was a way of starting out telling the same story, but then going in a different direction and addressing some of the issues that he had with how fans thought he was trying to save the show, and being reiterating, this is the point, this is why I did things this way. I'm going to talk about those movies in another video. I just watched the 4th film 2 weeks ago. I watched it on a Saturday night when I got off work, and I was super tired, but I've been waiting to see this film for so long I couldn't wait. And I watched it, and I fell asleep through most of it. Not that it was bad, I shouldn't have been watching it at the time. But the parts I saw of it, I enjoyed. And I remember I kept falling asleep and waking up, and I'm like, I should go to bed. I'm like, no, just keep watching 2 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes. So let's go back to the original series. So let me go ahead and show the original DVD that apparently, this may be my most expensive DVD set I have. So this is volume 2 with Rei Ayanami. She is another 14-year-old that is a pilot of the Evangelions. Apparently these machines can only be piloted by 14-year-olds. Adults can't do it. And this is volume 3. This is Asuka Langley. She's another 14-year-old. A lot of people are not crazy, but this is a very popular character too, but people either love her or hate her because she's very outspoken, and she's very, very rude and very troubled. It's another thing that I've heard Anno was upset about, the fact that he feels that most of these characters have some type of mental illness or another. And in some ways he didn't understand why people love them so much. And maybe that's why people do love them, because people love characters with flaws. And this is Masato. She works for Nerve, and she ends up becoming Shinji's guardian. And she's basically runs the department that is in charge of the Evangelions. Because these angels, apparently there's a certain number of them that they know are coming to attack. And basically she's in charge of the combat situations of making sure that the pilots go up against these angels and defeat them. And then this is actually one of my favorite characters too. This is Kaji. Kaji is a former boyfriend of Masato's, who was, they were together when they were in their late 20s, or early 20s, I should say. And he comes back in the picture, and very, very strong character in the series. It's like, he's one of the characters that you just can't forget. Very funny too. And this is Shinji's dad. And he is basically probably one of the worst fathers in the history of any type of form of anime or live action. For the life of me, I'm forgetting the character's name. I know a lot of fans out there like, how can you forget his name? I forget random things sometimes. But yeah, he's basically, it'll probably come to me in the end of the video, I'll be like, oh, that's the name. But yeah, that's Shinji's dad. He's actually in control of Nerve, and he's basically the director of the whole entire department. So, reasons why I think you should watch this show. Like I said before, the show has amazing story. It's got great characters. It's got fantastic animation. And this anime has had so much influence over the years over not just anime, but live action movies as well. This show is greatly influential when it comes to The Matrix and a lot of the movies that we've gotten over the past 20, 25 years. So, so here's the deal with how to watch this show. So a few years back, Netflix got the streaming rights for this show. And I remember I was so excited because I only had this DVD set, and they said that it was going to be HD masters of the original series. And I was like, perfect. I have DVDs, love to watch it in HD. I wish they were Blu-rays, but no, you can't, beggars can't be choosers. So I remember I went on Netflix and I wanted to check it out. And when the show started, I'm listening to it, and I started English, and I noticed that it didn't sound right. Something was off. And then I realized that the voices were different. And then I come to find out that Netflix redubbed the entire series. The entire series. So I was a little thrown by that because, like I said earlier, the Japanese cast has basically been doing the voices of these characters since the 90s. And I believe when they did the director's cut episodes, some of the characters like Kaji and Shinji's dad, they had to change out. And Akari, Gendo Akari, boom, remembered it. So knew it was coming. His name is Gendo. I'm gonna hold it up again. So right here, Gendo Akari, that's his name. So those voices are different in the director's cuts episodes for the English cut. But the English cast that did this original dub, they did the series, they did the 2 movies, and then they did the new rebuilds. Most of them. Some of them they didn't come back. But I was wondering like why the whole cast was different, and then I looked it up online. Apparently, anime fans were just really upset. Apparently, Netflix decided, since they didn't have the rights to the original dub that was done in the 90s, they were just going to redo it. So then I'm thinking, well, if you're going to redo it, why not get the original voices that have been doing it this whole time? They still work in the industry. They're still voicing these characters. Why not get them? Apparently they didn't want to. So I heard a rumor online, some of it's from some of the voice actors. They had basically said that they were asked to audition. And they had to fly out someplace to audition, and they paid out of their own pocket, and they weren't chosen, which blows my mind. So I watched a couple minutes of it, and I was like, I'm never gonna watch this. I'm just gonna stick with my DVDs. And to make it worse, every episode, at the end of the episode, has this really cool sequence where you see Rey, and I'll put a picture here so you can see it. She's inside powdered liquid upside down, and she's spinning, and they play Fly Me to the Moon. And apparently Netflix, even though they spent a lot of money on the show, they didn't want to pay the rights. So because for that song. So because of that, they put some other song there, which I don't know, because I heard it once and I'm like, this is blasphemy. I'm never watching this again. But apparently they took that out and it's gone. And you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? It's just a song. That song is at the end of every single episode, and there's a reason why that song is there. And one thing I didn't remember, and I was watching the episode where something very tragic happens. And when it happens, they play notes of that song. And I'm thinking, if they took that song out, they're going to have to remove from that scene too. So that's just more alterations, because anytime that song appears in the actual episode, regardless of how the thematic or how integral it was to what was happening in the scene, they got to remove it. So this is the reason why I have this channel, and the reason why I always talk about why physical media is important. If you have a movie only on digital, if they decide to make changes to it, there's nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is now. And if you don't have a copy of it, you're stuck whatever changes they make, bad, good, bad, or whatever. So I was so glad that I kept this set. So apparently a big animation company, Funimation, they wanted the rights because they would have done it correctly. I don't know if they would have paid for the rights to the song, but they at least wanted to put them on Blu-ray, and that's what people wanted. And basically, I read one of the company heads said that Netflix gave them so much money that they couldn't match it. They said there's no way they could have made the money back if they matched what Netflix had spent on it. So I thought basically we're never going to see this show on Blu-ray in the United States again. And lo and behold, I'm going to put it right here, boom. G-Kids is a company, I think it's a subsidiary of Shout Factory. They put a lot of anime out here in the US. They redid a lot of the Hayao Miyazaki films, and they did really, really good transfers and additions. And even though I had some of those movies already on Blu-ray through Disney, I bought them again. Not all of them, but a lot of them I bought again. But I heard a rumor that they were going to be releasing Neon Genesis Evangelion in the US, and I was just like, is this real? This can't be real. It was announced earlier in the year, and it said it'd be sometime this year. And then a couple weeks ago, there was an announcement saying that, like, join our website, we'll tell you when it's coming out. So I was blown away. I was like, wow, we're finally going to get this on Blu-ray. And if you look at the art here, I love what they did with the art style in the box set. So this box set, it's about $275. The art style is pretty much identical to the art that they used on the Laserdisc that came out in the 90s, where like each character was on each sleeve of the disc. So I read that this is going to have the original dub that was done in the 90s, the ADV dub, the English dub. It's going to have the original Japanese soundtrack. It's going to have the new Netflix soundtrack. But here's the deal breaker. It is still missing Fly Me to the Moon song. So I love this show to death, but the idea of like getting an edited version for $275, I mean, you all out there can make your own decision, but I don't think it's worth it. So I'm gonna recommend to a lot of people, if you haven't seen this show, try to find a used copy of this set or one of the older sets, because that will have the original uncut version, because you can watch it in Japanese or you can watch it in English, whatever's best for you. I've heard some rumors that even the Netflix versions changed some of the subtitles to where they're not as good as they were. That some things were edited out that, you know, that shouldn't have been edited out. There's a character towards the end of the show that is most likely a gay character, and that maybe Netflix had a problem with that and maybe changed some of the subtitles around. I didn't watch the episode, so I don't know for sure. It's just stuff that I've read, which I think is ridiculous. They shouldn't change anything. And also the Fly Me to the Moon song is going to be gone. So it's hard for me to recommend watching on Netflix, even though that's the easiest way to watch it. And I think they're going to have those rights for years and years on, so that's not going to change. Most likely, they're going to be doing cheaper box sets for the show. I think the idea is, let's sell the expensive set now, get as much money as we can to make up whatever they had to pay. Because I guess the rights for the Blu-ray rights were different than the rights for the streaming rights. So it looks like the streaming rights for the original series went to Netflix. They also got the first two movies as well. And then the disc rights for the show and the movies is going to G-Kids. So this box set will have the first 26 episodes, and it will have the first two movies that they did. Now, the last four movies were released by Funimation here in the United States. Even though the last movie, the fourth movie, went straight to streaming because of everything that's been going on this past year with the pandemic. So it went straight to streaming, and I don't know if it's going to get a physical release or when it'll get a physical release. Hopefully soon, because I want to have a physical copy of it. I'll do another video on the films. One thing about the films I noticed is Amazon did a whole new dub for the movies. They redubbed all four movies, even though they were dubbed for English already when they originally came out. But they hired the original cast, which is really good. And apparently they rehired some of the actors that were not hired before for the first dub for the film. So I think that's pretty cool. So if you want to watch the movies, all four of the movies are on Amazon Prime. I haven't watched the other dubs to see if they're better or not. I think when I watch those again, I'm going to try to watch those in Japanese and try to, you know, get that experience at least once. But also, I didn't go over the two films. Do I still have them here? And let's see. So let me just go ahead and grab them. And I'm going to do something unusual when I do this video. I'm going to go ahead and, well, actually, you know what? I'll do those in another video, because apparently I was forgetful and I didn't bring them out here. So there's two movies that they did immediately after the original series. And actually, I'm just going to put an image right there. Boom. That's easy. So two movies that came out, and the idea behind it was that a lot of people didn't like the last episode. It was one of those episodes that kind of made you think, and it wasn't straightforward about what happened to the characters that you love. So I read that Anna was like, well, fine. If you don't like that ending, here's your ending. So he did two films that basically are the actual ending of what happened to these characters. And it's very sad, very depressing, and very, very, very good. These two particular DVDs, they were released in, when the films came out, probably late 90s, I believe. Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. They are terrible DVDs. They don't have any anamorphic widescreen. So for some reason, when you watch them, it's letterbox, where it's in a tiny little box, and if you want to make it to fit your screen, you have to zoom it out, and they're god-awful. There is a Japanese Blu-ray set that they made in Japan, and that set actually sells for a lot of money too, not $1,500, but a lot. And that set has HD video, has the original Fly Me to the Moon song, but it doesn't have subtitles. So unless you speak Japanese or understand Japanese very well, you're kind of out of luck. I think I'll put an image of that set right here too. I like the blue aesthetic of it. You know, I'll check some prices on it, see how much it goes for. Last time I checked, it was like around $400 or $500. So still cheaper than buying this set on Amazon. So that is my short video on Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm going to do more videos on the show later, because I think the show is definitely worthwhile for people to check out. And I want to go over some more of my other physical copies. Well, it's not that much. I just have this in the movies. I'll do something on the rebuild movies and kind of show the artwork that they did for those. So again, thank you so much for checking out my video today. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it greatly helps the channel. My channel is still small and it's growing. We're trying to get there. So thank you so much all, and you all have a great day. Bye.